Illinois, and happy to be here with my buddies on the Classroom's First Commission, who have put in a lot of hard work to get to the point where we are at here today. And where we're at is to have hearings on a draft report. I'm here with Lynn Hafley from my staff, who will give you a little outline of what we've done, how we've gotten the information we've gotten, where we plan to take it. But the main purpose of today is to hear from you about what your opinion is of our draft report, where we might improve, where we may have gone wrong in your opinion, but we hope to strengthen the report by getting more input from you. And it's a strong report in my belief because we've had a lot of public input from the very beginning and all the way through. If I could first have the commission members introduce themselves, just so everyone knows who you are. Larry, you want to start off?
Good afternoon, Larry Pfeiffer. I'm representing the regional superintendents of schools.
Tom Skates, rural schools.
Brent Clark, representing school superintendents.
Linda Mitchell from the State Board of Education.
Okay. And Lynn Hafley, if I could ask you to she's got a PowerPoint that sort of explains the history of how we've gotten here and a rough outline of many of the provisions. So I think I'm probably not in the way if I sit here.
I think you're okay.
Okay, good deal.
I don't think I am.
All right.
Because I have to look at it.
Right.
All right. Maybe I better grab the microphone. All right, thanks everybody for coming. I also want to thank a few of the folks in the room here who worked on some of our draft recommendations within our working groups. So thank you very much. I'm just going to give a little brief background on the commission, just so everybody's on the same page. The legislative charge to the commission told us to address some of these items. First of all, where consolidation might be beneficial in the state or for which districts, how to reduce money spent on duplication of effort, improving student education, and that probably we would put on the top of the list, lowering the property tax burden, creating net cost savings for the state, and also providing advice and input to districts about reorganization. The commission itself, when it first met in September, adopted two overarching goals to try to get those tasks done. The first is to improve educational opportunity, and the second is to improve efficiency within and across school districts. The commission did its work in 3 stages. We started last fall, and that was our learning phase. And so we conducted hearings around the state to listen to what folks had to say. And we're obviously doing that again now. We had a survey online for folks to submit information, and then we also did a lot of research and data analysis. And we do have folks from the State Board of Education, Karen and Michelle, who did a lot of number crunching for us. And so we want to thank you for that. After that, we put out a report summarizing our findings. So that was our first report in January, and that's still available online on the Lieutenant Governor's website. We then broke into working groups for stage 2, and we will show you the recommendations from those 4 groups. And we included other folks besides our commission members. We invited other kinds of stakeholders and experts to participate, and that's the report that we just published this past, Tuesday. And then finally, we are now entering stage 3, where we're going and asking you one more time to help us perfect this to the extent that we can do that, and we'll have our final report ready by July 1st. Just to recap some of the findings from that first stage, we found obviously that consolidation does occur. It's happening as we speak. Folks are either studying it or they're in the process. So it's been a slow but steady process. Research we found does not provide a good means to calculate the optimal size of a school district or the optimal number of school districts for a state. It's just not a formula type of question. There is also no one-size-fits-all mechanism to achieve efficiency. That can happen in lots of ways. We found that while consolidation does save money in some cases, not always. Sometimes it's a very expensive proposition. In any mass consolidation scenario that we tried, the upfront costs were very, very high. And then finally, the commission came to the conclusion from a lot of this that realignment or consolidation should happen case by case. So given that, what could we do that might be useful to our districts and to the state? So we looked at really 3 efficiency approaches. One is the realignment approach, because for some that is the right efficiency measure. Second, we looked across districts, how districts could cooperate or collaborate to become more efficient. And finally, in district, within any district, what could be done to make things run more smoothly and provide better opportunities. And if you think about those 3 approaches, given the fact that we said case-by-case realignment is appropriate, we're looking at voluntary consolidation, virtual consolidation, and things that every district could benefit from. So that's sort of the framework for the work groups. So let's take a quick look at what the realignment group came up with. First set of recommendations from that group had to do with those districts that really would like to pursue realignment or consolidation. What could we do to reduce the barriers and make that easier to happen? First of all, allowing non-contiguous districts to consolidate, allowing very small districts to to dissolve through the regional board of trustees rather than through referendum, to create some special provisions for conversions from dual districts to unit districts. In other words, maybe the 3rd recommendation there says to make sure they don't lose any grant money in that process. And if they have to lower their tax rate to the unit rate, to allow that to happen over time instead of having to happen all at once. The 5th recommendation for this category is to create a pilot of a special school construction program for those districts that are consolidating and need new facilities or upgrades. And then finally, to allow the delay of your actual reorganization until funding is available. And that actually came from a model that's being pursued right here in Southern Illinois. Okay, second group of recommendations is to identify districts that could benefit. That's part of the legislative charge. And so one idea is to take a look at counties that have already low student populations and projected to decline, and ask them to do some feasibility and efficiency studies that could maybe unveil some ways to maintain educational opportunity and create some efficiency. And then also a concept of developing a district efficiency profile using different factors that the State Board of Education collects, and just trying to see if folks can learn from each other and possibly identify candidates that would benefit from shared services or realignment. And then finally, the whole area of incentives, which are the payments that school districts get during a realignment. These are 2 actually mutually exclusive concepts. One would be to revise the overall incentive structure using different factors than we use now. And the second is a group of proposals to modify the current incentives. And I'll just point out a couple of those, maybe a special incentive for dual district consolidations, and maybe a special incentive for high poverty, low performing school consolidations. They have trouble finding consolidation partners. A very large group of what I might call exciting ideas came under the category of shared services. And so because we had so much to look at there, we divided into educational and operational shared services. So under the education side, most of this is work that's already starting in various places around the state, but we wanted to give that a push. Looking at a lot of P20 recommendations to really smooth out the pathways for students. The first recommendation of their flexible learning options is a very ambitious concept of let's take a look at seat time and course credits and things that are possibly slowing some kids down, and see if we can't maybe do something a little more aligned with our standards. And then the last recommendation of this group has to do with making sure that we have an infrastructure of regional service delivery. And then on the operations side, that's where the money people get together and try to figure out how to squeeze those dollars into the classroom rather than into back office operations. So they're looking at things like the financial profile that the state board produces. For those districts that are struggling, maybe they're in financial warning or watch levels, triggering some studies that could help them set up shared services. A resource management service, which would use data that's already being collected by the state board. The annual financial report, for example, has a lot of data. And instead of just putting that into a black hole, as one of our members has said, taking that out, turning it into a usable interface like the interactive report card, and helping districts to identify peer districts that can help them save money. A revolving fund to support some of these studies. So you borrow a little bit of money, you find an efficiency, you pay the money back, and the next guy gets to borrow some money. Exempting shared services from some of the provisions of our, some of the restrictions on outsourcing that districts currently face. Creating a best practice, if you want to call it, best practice library, a resource repository where people can post their shared service agreements and the next person doesn't have to reinvent that from scratch. And then for those districts that are having trouble with health insurance, maybe they're too small to join some of the health insurance pools, trying to open that up for more districts. And then finally, things that could help every district in the state internally would be, again, another very ambitious proposal. How about a 2-year budget cycle for the state of Illinois? And the idea being some predictability there, some stability for your planning, etc. And then mandate flexibility for when the money doesn't arrive. The idea of putting our mandated professional development trainings online. Some of this is already being done by our professional organizations, but how about scaling that up so that everybody can do just-in-time trainings? Again, creating resources and tools that all districts can use to look internally. Encouraging districts to do large-scale strategic planning with their communities, and then finally purchasing things like library databases, research databases, a statewide license rather than every man for himself. So that's pretty much the bulk of the recommendations. You all know where the hearing is today, so I don't have to tell you that. And I will then turn it over to Lieutenant Governor.
Okay, Lynn, thank you very much. And thanks to those of you who participated in getting us to this point. We very much appreciate it. What we'd like to do now is give folks the opportunity to give us the benefit of your wisdom on what you have read. And if you haven't read the recommendations already, I hope that this has inspired you to go home and do that. Friday evening is a great time to read draft recommendations, right? Anyway, we find them exciting. I don't think we have a very large group here. We hope that you will keep your remarks to 5 minutes, and if you go overboard, we have flags here to shut you down. All right.
This is the 1-minute flag, and this means time.
All right, very good. So, Crystal, you want to tell us who has signed up to?
We have 3 people, unless anyone else wants to sign up.
Okay.
After seeing the draft recommendation. So, our
Hello, I'm Vicki Davenport, and I work for WSIU Public Broadcasting, and we thank you for the opportunity to be here today and comment on the work that has been going on. We actually have information to bring forward about some services that may assist in the recommendations that you have come to and the conclusions that you're searching for with efficiency and all the other ways to possibly save some money. And so we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of the statewide services of public broadcasting. We've been working very diligently over the last several months with a new project called PBS Learning Media. And my colleague Beth Spasia would like to share a little bit of that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth Spasia. I'm a resident of Southern Illinois. I am involved in the graduate program in media theory and research at Southern Illinois University. And my specialization is in educational children's media. I also work at WSIU, and I am involved in our education and community engagement initiatives. I've been there for about 10 years. Vicki and I both have feet in the schools, in the classrooms. We work in the libraries, we work in community centers, we work with after-school programs. We see firsthand what is missing and what is inspirational about schools in our area. I was involved with a researcher from the University of Illinois in developing a pilot test of the new Illinois PBS Learning Media Service. This leverages 50 years of non-commercial educational media that has been in our schools. So all of that wonderful programming and lesson plan and interactive new media capabilities have been leveraged in this service. We wanted to find out, how would teachers use this service in their classroom? How would they adapt it and make it their own? How would they implement it in connection with Common Core or other standards? So we devised an experimental design and tested that with teachers throughout this state. And we were surprised that these teachers were embracing this technology and really making it their own. It helped fill gaps in terms of technology use in the classroom. Technology in the classroom can be very intimidating, and yet the trusted resources of public media were there as a familiar place to begin a dialogue with students that involves technology on the whiteboard, on devices, and so on, with video and games and interactives. We will be submitting the written information about our pilot. Today, there are about 2,000 teachers throughout the state of Illinois that are using this free, no-cost resource on their own without any requirements from their school district. They are using that to augment the requirements of teaching in their classroom and enrich the learning that their students are doing every day. So we'll submit the results of our report. The number of teachers who are adopting this across our state is growing on a steady basis. Each month we find more teachers. They're hearing about it. They're using social network techniques to share what they're doing on the PBS Learning Media. So we believe that this can help with the technology infrastructure recommendations. We believe that this goes a long way toward shared learning, toward improving the efficiency of our teaching process, and we thank you for this process and this opportunity to comment today.
Okay.
We'd like to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Okay. We should note, and thank you both, Vicki and Beth, and we should note that one of your colleague stations presented some information last night in Champaign at Parkland Community College, where we had a hearing there, and the same message, and we appreciate your willingness to contribute your resources. Thank you. All right. And that's it? No one else has comments?
I'll make a comment.
Come and make a comment.
Because I'm here. Hello, my name is Lane Hudgens, and I am here as a representative of the WSIU Friends Board. And Vicki and Beth, I've seen them in operation just as a person who's interested in public broadcasting and as a person who has 3 children, 3 school-age children. And of course, we're all very aware of what wonderful products public broadcasting brings to us in traditional media environments. But I think what's very exciting is the new Illinois PBS Learning Media program. I think that concept can offer a number of efficient, cost-effective ways, learning opportunities for children throughout the state, perhaps mostly in rural areas like this, low-income areas. I think this is a wonderful program to get technology in a cost-effective manner into schools, and in a very high-quality media content at that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lane. Appreciate that. Yeah, let me just offer that for those of you who may have secret comments that you're not willing to share in front of everyone else, or think of something good on the way home, we would still love to hear from you. And you can send us information by way of the Lieutenant Governor's website. You can stop by the office in Carbondale. There's lots of good ways that we can get information from you, and would be interested in continuing to use information from you to make this a better final recommendation. And since folks came here anticipating a little bit longer time, might as well take advantage of the time. If you have a specific idea, you can mention it to one of the commissioners here as we spend a few minutes here before we hit the road. Yep, one more.
Yeah, I'd still like to speak.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I don't have a real formal presentation, but I
That's
think
okay.
I need to represent myself. My name is Dave Schaefer. I live in a holler down south of Jonesboro.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a citizen, taxpayer, and I have concerns about our educational system. I think when you titled this Classroom First, it should have probably been Education First. I went through your 57-page document, and I didn't really find anything. We know that education is going to change, and I don't see you showing us any change in education. You're providing a lot of bureaucratic loophole or loops that we have to jump through to change our education system to where it can be, students can be accountable and work within a new framework that we're going to be facing nationally and internationally. And I don't see that coming out of this commission. I think that ought to be your priority, and then decide how you financially make it work. I'm also concerned about when you start talking about consolidation and saving money. We recently went through a consolidation in Union County, which wasn't a money saver for us. My taxes would have gone up about 70% if that would have been fully enacted. And I don't think that's right for a guy that's retired to have to face those kind of tax commitments. And I sense a lot of what I'm reading here can happen with your program here. And again, I think consolidation is nice. You speak of realignment of curriculum, but what are you realigning your curriculum to? I don't see it in this package. Realignment, you don't talk about various educational options. You don't talk about educational choices. Somewhere we need to be facing some new choices, new options that we can be doing within our school districts. We have 7 districts in our county, and I don't think consolidation is the way to go. I think it's more of a cooperative thing, where we can work cooperatively within our district or within our county, get our schools to work together, and hopefully come up with a more efficient way of developing our program. I don't see anything that helps us do that, and I think that's more what you need to be doing for us, is telling us how we can function within a new system that's functional, that meets our needs. And this cooperation within the school districts is a difficult thing to do, but I think it's probably a right way to go for us, and I'd like to see us have some means of developing that process and have some help. We need direction from the State Board of Education on how we can actually function and be efficient in our process. A lot of the state laws and more of what you're doing are pretty much a hindrance to us. We need to take those hindrances away and give us some guidance on how we can do this. So, we're pretty much strangled with regulations, I feel. And the other thing is, when the tax thing, I don't think we're always up front with that. We went through where they were going to, our tax was, the maximum tax was going to be 5%. And I don't see how you can, if you actually implement a new district, you don't have any means of providing startup costs. Your state aid is cut. There's no benefit. Your incentive, our incentive would have cost us $1.2 million extra. That's not an incentive. Now they tried to con us in and saying, we'll get all these benefits, but there weren't any benefits I could find. Maybe you can tell us where the benefits would be in consolidation. I guess I could go on with this, but somehow I think your board or your commission really needs to look at the realities of what we're trying to do and how we do things instead of providing more bureaucratic loops to jump through. So, okay, that's just a taxpayer's opinion. So, I thank you.
Dave, thank you very much. And I think that the commission and you are probably in agreement more than you realize.
Okay, I hope so.
We started off with, and I'll let other commission members chime in here. We started off with legislation that was launched by a discussion by the governor of forced school consolidation. And I think as a commission, we recognized that there's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and that when people talk about consolidation, what they're saying is we think there would be some benefit in terms of efficiency and in terms of opportunity for students in small schools. So we decided to focus on those two goals and not assume that consolidation was the only way to get there. So I think we're in complete agreement with you that we don't want to force consolidation. But where consolidation is going to be an advantage for students at the schools, we want to make sure that we actually remove some of those bureaucratic barriers that you talked about, and that's exactly what many of these recommendations do. So I think maybe we can make sure that you get the opportunity to discuss with some of the working groups members in more detail, but I think some of the ideas that you've expressed are things that we've been focusing on as well, and we very much appreciate your input.
Yeah, even as a commission, we were kind of limited in our scope as to what we could look at because of the things that Lieutenant Governor just described in terms of the initial impetus to just look at consolidation. For example, I think you asked the question about realignment and to what. And right now we have multiple commissions, or they're called task force, whatever you want to call them, committees working across the state to realign to the Common Core standards, which are coming into Illinois. So there's what's being realigned to. The state laws and the regulations that you said are strangling us, I'll make a motion to support that. We constantly talk about mandates and the need to relieve those mandates that are unfunded, that cost school districts time and resource. So fully support that. That just wasn't in our scope to deal with, but we're dealing with that on some other fronts. And then the startup cost, I think that is something we addressed in this group. There's actually incentives currently in statute that if two districts, A and B, don't have to pick a town, but if two districts come together, there's actually consolidation incentives to do that. There's something there for a certified staff. There's something for making up the difference between the salaries and the benefits for a period of, I think, 4 years. Then there's a couple other incentives that are based on account balances. Those are the incentives that are currently there. This new commission report has some, I think, revised incentives or some suggestions that Dr. Hafley probably could expound on more than even I can. So
it would be nice to see an implementation plan. How do you put it together? How do you make it work? I never see that anywhere. You know, you talk about rules and regulations, but you don't tell us how to implement a new district or a new cooperative district.
Well, I think
we need that.
Yeah, one of the things we're sensitive to is that we don't want to be telling local school districts too much how to do their business. We want to give districts the option to choose their own course as you have. And so what our recommendations do will expand districts' abilities to work closely with other districts cooperatively with the state, not putting hurdles in the way of that cooperation.
When you do that, why can't you talk about new processes, new types of education? You know, we don't talk about charter schools. We don't talk about magnet schools, tutorial, I can't say the word, technical schools and that kind of thing. Why aren't we looking at that? Look at these new options. That's what's going to happen in the future. But this commission isn't gearing to any of that. The Khan Academy thing. That's great. That's education on its own. You can break down some of those walls in the classroom and get it so you're functional and meeting today's needs and standards and what's happening in society. Generating a bunch of new rules and regulations just isn't going to get it, I don't think. It's nice that you're trying that attempt, but I don't think it gets us anywhere.
Well, we appreciate the broad scope of your ideas, and it's probably a little broader than the scope of our charge of our commission. So thank you, and any more specific ideas, please pass them along. Anyone else who wants to say anything? Yes. Oh.
Greetings. A little nervous here.
That's okay.
Don't be nervous.
My name is Bea Geraci. I'm not only a citizen and taxpayer, but a lifelong educator. I have worked at Unity Point School, a rural Southern Illinois school, for 20 years, and grew up in Chicago. So 25 years there, and the rest of my life here, I've seen both the rural and the city type of education, and have been involved in education, have a degree in education all of my life. So this is very dear to my heart. I have read the draft, and actually I think it's very good from my perspective in education. I think your work, I think your focus is very good, and what you just said, a narrow focus, it needs to be, but it's on the right focus. Saving money, and everything that's involved with aligning to the Common Core, which is also a very good idea. The points I'd like to make today mostly are concerned with the educational shared services. Mm-hmm. The first part, I think there are good recommendations with the schools, redistricting and all that. So I think that's, has a good place. But with the shared services, the points that I'd like to make are basically related to my involvement with what good practice that is already in place, and that you do pay attention to the schools that have good vision, have good education plans, can be a model. So I noticed you had a section in there on modeling. We do a lot of that. We have schools from all over coming in to visit us at Unity Point School. We are a one-to-one school. This is our 3rd year. So we have a lot of concrete things that are going on at our school in particular. I think I forgot to mention I'm also an Illini board member, Illini Cloud board member, which I think can help to deliver a lot of your shared services. And the reason I recommend that is because we are already a collaboration of districts and other entities, not governmental entities, but just ROEs, LTCs, the things that you do address within your document. But mostly our goal is by school districts for school districts. We do believe in taking the politics, the governmental layer out of it, and that's what helps to save money by and for the school districts. We have our own interests in mind, but we also like to help others. That is something that many of us, especially the rural schools, have been doing for a very long time. We have a skill, we do something right, we share it. So the sharing has been going on for a long time and will continue to, but through the Illini Cloud, we formalize it more. Since the Illini Cloud last spoke to you at the first round, I believe Jim Peterson did, 50+ schools have come onto the Illini Cloud. Things are moving fast. Through Race to the Top 3, of which my school is a part of, as well as the Illini Cloud, a lot of good progress in groundwork for the Commission's work will be laid and is already in process through ISLE and the different pulling together of all the efforts that are already happening to make education better for students. We're going to lay the groundwork, but one of my concerns, is that we do not let big business become too much a part of it. Yes, I understand there has to be some services that are brought in, but please allow the districts to maintain that control. The problem that will happen with big business, because they are about money, they're about making money, not giving it away. Now we have some things going on with the Gates Foundation. That's not a business, that's a foundation. They're trying to help, and they are laying very good groundwork for us, especially as related to the data portion of the aisle. Data has become huge, not only in the good that it can do for us in data-driven decision-making, but it has become a financial burden and a task burden upon schools. Much of my life is, my day is spent in collecting data. My role at the school is technology director. So I'm very well versed in this whole topic, aside from curriculum integration, because that is what I do. I help to integrate curriculum, make sure that we are not only teaching to the standards, but attaining growth, and that all our students can learn at their individual level. But my concern, again, with letting business get too in there is that we will create another Illinois tollway, meaning that they'll create it, they'll own it, and potentially own our data, which is not a good idea. Schools need to own the data, but it'll be something that we will perpetually have to pay for over and over with subscriptions, with things like that. That is what is always a problem for schools. We have to know that it's going to be there tomorrow, and that we will be able to afford it tomorrow, whether it's app services or whatever. So if it's built by Illinois, for Illinois, by schools, for schools, it's going to have continuity. It will be there tomorrow without this tollway fee, so to speak. Another concern I have is I saw that grants were mentioned as a potential way to push out some of these items, and it likely will have to be because most schools cannot afford it. Grants are very good. I have written and won quite a few in my life, but one of the problems that I see with them, and especially for some schools that may not have foresight and vision for the future, is that throwing money quickly can be harmful. You need to space things out further into the future. Spend it fast in 1 year, it's very, very difficult to have continuity, and that it would be well spent. So I would suggest that you really look at ways to take the grants and make sure that there's already good things in place for grant delivery, but I just think it's too short, too quick. It's better to spread things out over time in smaller chunks of money. And then the third major point is the people that already have a lot of talent, many years of experience. Harness them, harness us. We're there to help. We're very willing to help. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Any questions? All right. Dee, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. Anyone else? And I notice my husband's here. Fair, you have any comments? No? Just hello? All right. Well, let me wrap up by saying that I got to visit Shawnee High School today and hear from the students about the research they've been doing about wing dikes in the Mississippi River and the connection with flooding. And it was just a great example of education in action, engaged students at a small community-based school, and want to make sure that you guys can keep doing the fabulous things that you're doing there. And I think that our report will allow you to do what you're doing and take advantage of what other school districts are doing well as well. And we thank you for what you're doing, and thank everyone else for being a part of this. All good ideas. We're still listening. Thank you very much, everyone. All right.